You think you're safe when the doors are locked and the lights are on. But it's during those long overnight shifts, when you're the only one left standing in that empty store, when the only sound is your own footsteps echoing between aisles. That's when the real darkness begins to show. In today's video, you'll hear 3 true horror stories from people who worked night shifts and experienced the kind of terror they never imagined. Put on your headphones, turn off the lights, and step into the shift with them. Story 1. The man in the red hoodie at the supermarket. I'm a 40-year-old stay-at-home mom living with my husband and our 3 young kids in a peaceful little town. With 5 mouths to feed, our grocery receipts are always absurd. I usually shop during the day, often with my 3-year-old daughter in tow. But that night, I had the rare luxury of shopping alone. It was past 9 p.m., and the King Cullen near my house was about to close. I grabbed my list, my coupons, in a bit of excitement because for me, solo grocery shopping felt like a vacation. The store was nearly empty. The lights cast a pale glow like moonlight through mist. I was crouched at the cereal aisle when I felt a tap on my shoulder that made me jump. I turned to see a man about my age, tan skin, wearing a black t-shirt, a red zip-up hoodie, and a baseball cap. He apologized for startling me and asked where I found a certain snack in my cart. I pointed him to the aisle, but he said he already looked and couldn't find it, so I walked him back to the correct shelf. His breath smelled awful, but I stayed, polite, nodded, smiled. Just as I was about to head back to my cart, he started talking, going on and on about why he loved that snack. Ingredients, health benefits, whatever. I slowly backed away, trying to stay polite, but clearly wanting to leave. Then he gave me a strange look and said, "Gosh, you're really beautiful." I froze, smiled awkwardly. "Thanks, I need to finish shopping before they close." I turned and walked away. But just a few steps later, I heard footsteps behind me. He was following, still talking, still trying to engage. I stopped and said, keeping my voice calm but firm, "I'd like to shop in peace, thank you." He finally walked away. But after that, I saw him wandering around the store, slowly, and every time he passed me, he stopped, or stared. No more words. But the silence made it even worse. At checkout, I felt relieved until I saw him get in line behind me. He only had a few random items in his cart. Didn't say a word. But I could feel his eyes burning into the back of my neck. Outside, I pushed my cart toward the car. As I was loading bags into the trunk, I saw him a few spots down, leaning against an old Honda, just watching me. He climbed into the car. Didn't start it. Just sat there. I got in, locked my doors, drove off. Didn't see him behind me and slowly started to relax. Until I turned onto my street. A car, no headlights, was creeping behind me. I recognized it immediately, the Honda. It stopped a few houses down. Turned off. I ran inside, told my husband. By the time he got to the porch, the car was gone. But I know. He saw where I lived. 1 week later, midnight. Everyone was asleep until we heard something outside in the yard. My husband opened the window and saw someone trying to open the back gate. The sound of the sliding window startled him, and the figure ran. My husband grabbed a baseball bat and chased after him. The man jumped into his car, the same old Honda, and peeled off. We called the police. They arrived quickly. I told them everything from the store to the gate. That man never came back. Maybe because he got scared off by my husband. But it's terrifying to know someone like that still remembers exactly where you live. Story 2. The Fake Night Manager. I was a second-year college student working part-time at a 24-hour supermarket called Waldbaum's. I assumed I was too new and too young to get stuck with night shifts. But one day the schedule said it plain as day, Tuesday midnight to 8 a.m. I panicked a bit. I'd never been alone in a grocery store at night with its endless aisles, cold lights, and eerie silence. But I needed the money, so I showed up right at midnight. A woman named Amanda handed off the shift to me. Half the lights were already turned off to save energy, which made the place look like something out of a horror movie. Around 1 a.m., the store was dead. I sat at the checkout lane, bored out of my mind, wondering, is anyone else even working this shift? Then I saw him. A bald man in a charcoal gray uniform carrying a small canvas bag and a jangling keychain. He walked calmly past the lane's eyes, unfocused, like he wasn't looking at anything in particular. I figured he was a manager, so I called out, "Are you the night supervisor?" He came over, shook my hand. Oddly didn't say his name and said, "First night shift, huh?" I nodded. He said, "You can head to the back room and start organizing the pallets. I'll keep an eye on the front." I didn't even know what pallets were, but I nodded and walked toward the back storage room. As I glanced back, I saw him fiddling with the front panel by the entrance like he was locking the doors. The storage room was cold and wide. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead. As I stepped in, I saw another man taller, wearing a vest with the Waldbaum's logo embroidered on it. He looked at me and said, "You the new hire?" "I'm Rob, night manager." I froze. Wait. I thought the other guy was the manager. Rob frowned. What guy? I described him. Rob's face went pale. There's no one else scheduled to be here tonight. Before we could leave the storage room, the entire store went dark. Rob told me, "Stay here. I'll check it out." I sat still in the dark. The only light came from the glowing milk fridge at the end of the hall. I pulled out my phone, trying to text my friend. My hands were shaking. Then, I heard the doorknob rattle. A hoarse voice whispered, "Hey, you still in there?" It wasn't Rob's voice. I froze. Tiptoeing, I ran out the opposite door into the main aisles, calling out for Rob. No answer. I ran to the front doors, tried to open them, locked. I pushed with all my strength, nothing. Behind me, footsteps. I turned and exhaled. It was Rob. He unlocked the doors and whispered, "Out. Now." We ran outside. Rob immediately called the cops. I heard him say someone's impersonating staff. Locked the doors. Cut the lights. I'm afraid he has a weapon. I stood there, stunned. The police came. They checked everything. But the man had escaped through the emergency exit behind the storage room. The next day, I reviewed the security footage. That man had wandered the store for nearly 30 minutes, checking cameras, approaching me, then heading straight into the back where I'd been, alone, in the dark. He didn't steal anything. He just locked the doors, cut the power, and walked toward me. I don't want to imagine what would have happened if Rob hadn't shown up. Story 3. The stranger in the store at night. I used to work night shifts at a supermarket called Great American, the biggest in town. Every night from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. I'd stock shelves and clean up with another coworker to prep for the next day. That night I was scheduled with Terry, a veteran employee. I arrived on time, unlocked the back entrance with my key, turned on the storage room lights, and started my usual routine, pushing a pallet of bread toward the bakery section. But 30 minutes in, still no Terry. I went back to check the storage room. Still no one. I'd left the door propped open with a stopper so Terry could walk in. But when I returned, the door was shut. And the stopper was now lying outside in the hallway like someone had kicked it out. I started to feel uneasy. I called Terry. He answered with a groggy voice. "I called out tonight. Got the flu." I swallowed hard. If Terry wasn't here, then who moved the door? I stood frozen for a moment. then forced myself to go back to work. Tried to convince myself it was just the wind. A little later, as I was stocking bread, I heard a loud thud from the opposite end of the store, like something heavy had crashed onto the floor. I walked out to the main aisle where I could see the entire floor, and I saw him. A man dressed head to toe in black, slowly walking past the dairy aisle. But his head-turned eyes locked directly on me. I froze. He said nothing, just walked out of view behind the shelves. I told myself maybe he's covering for Terry, but my heart was pounding. I quickly followed, called out, "Excuse me." No response. I scanned aisle after aisle until I saw him, at the far end, still, facing me. No expression, just a smile. Then he turned and vanished behind the shelf. I started to panic. I wasn't paid enough to chase some lunatic at 2 a.m. I grabbed my phone, ran to my car, and called my boss. He told me if you can't get rid of him, call the cops. So I did. Minutes later, the police arrived. I led them inside, and he was still there, standing between the aisles, head tilted, smiling. An officer drew his flashlight and ordered hands where I can see them. The man didn't resist, but he looked right at me and slowly licked his lips, like I was something he'd been craving all night. As they cuffed him, he whispered, "I was just looking for a snack." They searched him. No weapons, no ID. No one knew who he was, but that look, that hunger in his eyes, I'll never forget it. I went back to work the next night, but this time, every door stayed locked. No propped entrances. No more just the wind. Because now I know sometimes the scariest thing isn't the dark. It's the people hiding in it. 3 stories. 3 different nights, but the same chilling truth. Something or someone is always waiting in the dark. If you've ever worked the night shift, share your scariest story in the comments below. Maybe your experience will be the next one told here. If this video made your heart race, like, share, and subscribe. Turn on notifications so you never miss the next time we step into the night together. Thanks for watching. See you again on the next shift.